Coming up in today's video, we're going to go through some news and notes from day 4 of OTAs with the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, we just had the first session of OTAs wrap up last week, but today, here on Tuesday, May 28th, the second session of OTAs began. So just to kind of recap and kind of, give yourself the refresher, here is the offseason schedule for New Orleans. Like I said, the first session of OTAs is done. Now we're in the second section of the optional portion of the organized team activities, May 28th through the 30th, and then we'll go back in June 3rd through the 6th. Mandatory minicamp is when things will really start going, and that's when everyone is required to show up. Training camp, we're still waiting on dates for that, but we are going to be giving you coverage all throughout the offseason. So if you want more updates around OTAs, training camp, injuries, all sorts of stuff, hit us up and lock us in today. We're trying to get to 28,000 subscribers, and with your help, we can get there ASAP. And just a quick programming announcement. Tomorrow, we will have our regular live show that we have every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Time. But a part of that will be a Madden 2024 sim for the Week 1 matchup for the New Orleans Saints, where it's Saints versus Panthers, So make sure you subscribe and join our live show at 4 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. We will see you there. And without further ado, let's get to the important stuff. So defensive end Tano Passagnon, he tore his Achilles, and that report is coming in from the horse's mouth himself, head coach Dennis Allen. He said it happened during the offseason. Don't really know why, how, or what went down with the torn Achilles, but I know that it hurts, and we do know that he is expected to miss training camp. Now here's what the head coach had to say about Tano Passagnon. They said that he tore his Achilles in the offseason, so he's going to be out for a while. He won't be ready for training camp, and then we'll see how long that takes for him to recover. Now here's what the depth chart currently looks like in New Orleans. You have Carl Granderson as your starting defensive end, Chase Young on the opposite side, and I think Cam Jordan is going to fill in nicely as well. You also have Brian Brzee in year 2. Colin Saunders is an awesome option. Nathan Shepard, I'm excited to see what he can do. But then guys like Christian Boyd, Isaiah Foskey, Peyton Turner, there's a handful of guys that I think can step up big time and try and make a name for themselves with missing Tano Passagnon in the depth chart and in the rotation early on. Now, like I said, he's out with the torn Achilles, and the impact that Tano Passagnon had made last season was pretty positive. He was actually the 4th highest in terms of sack production for the black and gold last season, which, it's not all that much. I mean, he had 3.5 sacks, but you were number 4 in sack production, so you're going to be missing somebody who gets to the quarterback a lot. But I do expect Chase Young to kind of fill in that position, bump some of those guys down. I think Carl Granderson, Chase Young will lead the team in sacks. But I do think that Tano Passagnon is going to be missed on the defensive line, and especially in the rotation, because he is an energetic player, and I think that he's a valuable player within the rotation, if you will. So help us wish Tano Passagnon a quick recovery. Type his initials down in the comments section. Give me a TK. Wish him well, Who Dat Nation, and show him some love so he can get back on the field ASAP. Now here's who else was missing at practice today. Stanley Morgan, Rashid Shaheed, Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Of note here, Rashid Shaheed, he missed due to sickness, so nothing super major there. Nathan Shepard, he missed because of a family matter, so that is, obviously got to take care of that. But I want to just emphasize one point one more time. This is optional. You don't have to show up to this portion of OTAs. So when guys like Marshawn Lattimore or Paulson Adebo or Alvin Kamara or Chase Young don't show up, do not freak out and do not let these sirens start going up. Now, a mandatory minicamp here in a few weeks, that's when we can start getting a little bit worried. But here is all the players who missed at OTAs. Also, Oli Udoh was not there as well. We got to get back to this here in just a moment, but before we do, got to give a big-time shout-out to today's presenting sponsor, and it is Prize Picks. And with Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' stat projections, and you're locked in. Now, here are the stat projections I'm rolling with. In terms of some NBA playoffs, I think Rudy Gobert, he's a great defensive player, but I'm going to go with the less on 11 rebounds. Luka, I'm going with more than 9 assists. I mean, he feels just so damn automatic. And Kyrie Irving, 1.5 3-pointers made. Lock that one in. That is actually a goblin pick, meaning it's going to be a little bit easier to hit with a little bit lower of a payout. But hey, if you're trying to have one of these prize picks where you're trying to maximize your winnings, I think that this is a really good lineup. So you can get started if you haven't already at prizepicks.com/CLNS and get a first-time deposit match of up to $100 when you download the Prize Picks app and use our code CLNS, or you visit the link that's in the comment section and description of this video. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Get in on the daily action with your friends and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. So download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring the video. So Derek Carr, back into some OTA takeaways and some news and updates. It's pretty, self-explanatory here. Derek Carr's looking good. And that's exactly what we should expect to see from a 10-year, going into his 11th season veteran at OTAs and at this portion of OTAs. But I will say it's nice to see him out there, and it's nice to see him getting work with the team, especially with a new offensive coordinator and a new play style under Clint Kubiak. But I think Ross Jackson, who's done an amazing job covering the team throughout the offseason over at Locked On Saints and Saints News Network alongside John Hendrix, those are two of my favorite guys to get updates from outside of the obvious like Nick Underhill and Mike Triplett and whatnot. But Derek Carr was a perfect 8 for 8 today, and he may have had 1 sack. However, I wouldn't really stress too much about that. It came a pair of really nice connections with Taysom Hill, and then he had another deep shot down to the left sideline to Kendre Miller. So it's nice to see Kendre Miller getting utilized in the passing game because I think that's an underrated element of his skill set. And Taysom Hill, gotta love that. He's getting active in the passing game. And we all know when Taysom Hill has the ball in his hands, the Saints win games. Now, Scary Perry, he's a damn good football player, and I think that he's going to make a lot of noise in 2024. And he continued to make noise at OTAs and at practice. And I think that he's going to have a major role for the New Orleans Saints this season. And last year, he had a very limited sample size. We didn't get to see a ton of action from him. But in 18 targets, he had 12 receptions, averaging over 20 yards per catch, and he logged 4 touchdowns. It seemed any time the ball was headed into number 17's direction, he was making a play, and he was getting on the highlight reel. So I want to see A.T. Perry make a big-time splash this year. I think that he's one of my big-time breakout candidates alongside Rashid Shaheed for the Saints this year, and I think he's going to have an excellent season. But I want you to predict his production in the comment section. For me, I'm going to go somewhere around 20 to 30 receptions. Dare I say 500, 600, 700 yards and 7 touchdowns? I think that could be a pretty good season, and I think that would mean A.T. Perry absolutely lit it up for the black and gold. But I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section, so share them down below. And it is worth noting, Jamal Williams did return to practice today. He was not there at the first session of OTAs just a week ago. But the RB2 is back at practice today. I think that that's worth noting, and I do think that having him be a part of the Saints offense is actually a good thing. I know that he was very underwhelming last season, but with a better role and with more plays drawn up to fill his skill set and to fill what Jamal Williams does, that is good for him to be at practice. I think it's necessary, and I think that him sticking around ensures that he will have more reps when it comes game time. Now, do we have a new role for Taysom Hill in 2024? There's been a lot of reports around him this offseason, and I think that he is going to have an interesting year, to say the least. We've already seen that he's gotten work with the fullbacks and the tight ends, but Brandon Thomas, he had a pretty interesting report that came out on X just a little bit ago. Said tight ends coach Clancy Barone says stay tuned with what Taysom Hill's role will be this season, but says Hill has been in the tight end and running back room every day, which I absolutely love. I think Taysom Hill is best used as an offensive weapon, as a flex player, not as a quarterback, not as the tight end. I think he's best used when you just let him have the ball and let him make plays, because he is so damn good when you let him do that. I think Taysom Hill could be a guy that is just a massive just shot of energy anytime he gets the ball to the Saints offense. So let's talk about the Rattlesnake, Spencer Rattler. I'm not going to lie, guys. It looks like he struggled a little bit today. Jake Haener continues to shine and show out in that QB2 battle. But again, it's okay if Spencer Rattler's struggling. He was a 5th-round pick with nothing but upside, and all he has to do is sit back and learn. So the fact that he went 3 for 8 today with 2 interceptions, sure, that's not good. But when you're running with the threes and when you're very fresh into the NFL, I think that that's okay. When you're the QB3 with no pressure, or not no pressure, but with little pressure right now, I think that that's okay, guys. And I will say this, got to give some credit to Rattler Bradford, the safety out of TCU that the Saints brought in the UDFA period after the draft in 2024. He had 2 interceptions, and they were both against Spencer Rattler today at practice. And I do think that Rattler Bradford actually could find himself a spot on this depth chart. Now, Paulson Adebo, Marshawn Lattimore, Alontae Taylor, I think are your starting corners. But I think Rattler Bradford could fill in alongside Will Harris at that nickel spot. And I will add this. I think that Rattler Bradford could be a sneaky roster lock. And on top of that, he is a player who's lined up a lot in the slot. He's lined up in the box. He can play on the middle of the field. So I'm not too worried about him in general. And I do think that he could find himself carving out a role for the black and gold. Now, let me know, Saints fans, who's your favorite player on the current roster. Get in the comment section and share your thoughts. For me, I got to either go Taysom Hill, Chris Olave, or the one and only Wham Bam, thank you, Cam Jordan. I love all 3 of them. I think they're awesome players, and I am so excited to see them take the field this season. But it's your turn to shout them out for me in the comment section. Y'all stay golden. See you next time.